Reporting to you live from BBC Network, it's your hosts, Frank Lopez and Luke Lundberg. And today we'll be covering the latest news story. It's just in that on Easter Sunday, 3 Christian churches in Sri Lanka and 3 luxury hotels in the commercial capital of Colombo were targeted in a series of coordinated terrorist suicide bombings. Later that day, there were smaller explosions at a housing complex in Dematoga and guest house in Dawana.
In a raid by Sri Lankan security forces on a house in the country's east, supposedly occupied militants were linked to Easter suicide bombings, left 15 dead, including 6 children after they self-explosives. Frank?
Officials were hunting for a militia with explosives, believed to still be at large after the coordinated bombings of churches and luxury hotels that killed more than 250 people weeks ago. Raids and police curfews have shut down areas of eastern Sri Lanka, and Catholic leaders have canceled Sunday masses indefinitely.
The government even banned 2 extremist groups linked to the attacks, allowing officials to confiscate their property. The U.S. Department believed that militant groups might be planning more attacks and have urged all Americans to reconsider traveling to Sri Lanka. School-aged children of government officials have been directed to leave the country.
All right, thanks, Luke. Officials have warned public to stay away from places of worship over the weekend, considering it's possible that attackers may remain there who still have bombs and such. On to Frank.
The gunfight came after police tipped off soldiers about a suspected safe house near the town of Sampamora in Sri Lanka, Bora district, where authorities said the militia set off 3 explosions and opened fire.
Ron Garanchi said that some of the dead were likely militants who blew themselves up in suicide bombings. And now to Cam, who's live in Sri Lanka.
I'm here live in Sri Lanka. Military forces have recovered explosives, detonators, suicide kits, and Islamic State group flags. They also found 150 sticks of blasting gelatin with over 100,000 little, small metal balls.
Fear of more attacks has led increased security at churches, shrines, temples, and mosques across the multi-ethnic island nation of 21 million off the southern coast of India.
In suicide bombing. And now to Cam, who's live in Sri Lanka.
For closing, fear more attacks has led increased.
All right.
Thanks, Luke. In a raid by Sri Lankan security forces set off in the country's east, supposedly 6 militants were linked to Easter suicide bombings. 15 were left dead, including 6 children, as they set off explosives. Frank?
Officials were hunting for militia with explosives believed to still be at work.
Thanks, Luke. In a raid by Sri Lankan security forces on the country's east, supposedly 6 militants were linked to the Easter suicide fuck.